Pro Cannabis Media.
Live from the Visual Radio TV studios in Quincy, Massachusetts, it's We Talk Live with Curt Dalton from Cannabis.net and Jimmy Young from ProCannabisMedia.com.
Yeah, I want to actually give you guys.
Here we thought we were going to bring food to us. Like right now, now we get T-shirts.
So you said
a few articles on Cannabis.net about margin compression, and I think when this 2 to 3 years out, we're going to see the price of this flower come down, down, down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of Weed Talk. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media.
And this is Curt Dalton from Cannabis.net.
And we've got a great show for you tonight. A lot of great interviews. A legend in cannabis. We interviewed the one and only Tommy Chong. And Curt, how much of a thrill was that to talk to the Chong part of the Cheech and Chong?
It was actually one of my goals in life, my bucket list. I crossed off number 7.3, so it was great.
Is there, 7.3? Is there a 7.2 and a 1 and all this? Anyway, we've got some great supporters of our program that we want to talk about right away. We want to thank the friends, of course, at Legal Seafoods. We also want to talk a little bit about Weed Jets and also about Caroline's Cannabis. Now, this product, Weed Jets, wait, look, I'm going to hold it up to the camera. Look at that, huh? It's like, there you go. What is it? There it is.
Now, Jimmy, what is that?
That is it's basically a filtered pipe that cools your smoke and takes all the tars out. Look, I'm taking it off. I'm taking it apart. You're going to have to look at my arthritic fingers for a second. So there's one little filter. And this little plastic thing that it goes into fits into pre-rolls, I might add. Goes right to the end here. Put it in there. And it is used.
It's aromatic. It's aromatic.
But it's a great product. You can go online and check it out. And let's talk a little bit about Caroline's, because Caroline's dispensary in Uxbridge is a great story. Caroline and Stephen Frankel out there in Uxbridge were the first social equity licensee for adult use recreational cannabis in the state of Massachusetts. And she did most of the application process herself, which basically means she saved herself a lot of money because she didn't need an attorney until the very end. And they're open, and they're doing a great business. In fact, I believe we have their first customer in studio. It's something I just learned. But
Giving away our guest early. Guest early.
Well, let's talk about the guests first up. You got some of the lineup. Go ahead, Curt.
Will Luzier, who you haven't even seen yet, he'll be coming on and telling us what's going on in not only Massachusetts, but with the vape ban, as well as his new business. We have on the phone tonight one of the co-founders of MLBIZ Con, Chris Walsh, we will be talking to. If you don't know what MLBIZ Con is, it's the largest cannabis conference in the country, and their premier show is in Las Vegas in about a month. We have some.
I'll take the women in conference.
Go ahead.
All right. We'll also be talking with two women who created the Women in Cannabis Conference. That is the Tuesday before MLBIZ Con starts in Las Vegas, and that would be December 10th. And you can find out about them when you listen in, and we'll have them up on the phone in a little while. And we also have Eric Kaufman, who's a chief revenue officer of DAMA Financial, a cannabis-friendly financial solution.
Which I'm looking forward to talking to with the Safe Banking Act and with credit card issues. And don't forget we cannot forget our last guest who's coming in as well.
That would be Perry Antelman, the CEO of CBD Medic and Abacus Health. And, of course, if you don't recognize the name Perry Antelman, he, too, is becoming a bit of a brand and a celebrity in the cannabis world because he signed Rob Gronkowski to an endorsement contract because Rob uses his product and it works. And that's a great story unto itself. So that is the lineup. I don't think I've forgotten anybody.
I think we're ready for kickoff.
Let's introduce our guest, Will Luzier, who is certainly no stranger to the cannabis world in Massachusetts. It's kind of an honor to meet another legend, somebody else who's been in the trenches for many years fighting to get cannabis legalized in Massachusetts. Will, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. And tell me a little bit about Tudestr, which is where the company you're working with now, because I looked at your bio and it was quite long.
So, Tudestr is a marketing and licensing firm. We started that after MPP finished here, and when I say we, it's Jim Borghesani, who was the communications director for the campaign, and Matt Hayes, who's a marketing expert. And we have about a dozen clients we're helping through the licensing process. In fact, One of our first clients just got her provisional license for a dispensary in Haverhill. Her name is Caroline again, but Caroline Pino, and she's going to open up a shop in Haverhill. She's actually the second economic empowerment applicant that received a provisional license from the CCC.
That's great. And, one of the fun things that we've had here, both on Pro Cannabis Media and in the podcast I host, which is In the Weeds with Jimmy Young, is I've met some of the most interesting people that were working on this question for many, many years. Will, you were in on that committee as well. Am I right?
Yes. So
I knew I did my research. All right. So now we're here. You guys won. The voters spoke. It's going to be a year, November 20th, for adult use recreational. Is it where you thought it would be? Are we behind? Are we in front? What do you think?
I think we're way behind.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the slowness in getting the regulatory process up and running. But I also think that there are many communities throughout Massachusetts that are still hanging on to that prohibitionist idea that cannabis is a bad thing.
And by the way, it's an adult use product. It can be a bad thing if it's abused. I'm not sitting here telling you that it's going to cure everything, but it also can enhance your life because everybody now has an endocannabinoid system. And I interviewed Dr. Ryan Zachlin today, and he went into depth about that endocannabinoid system. And I want to see if my co-host, Curt, can you pronounce the real name of CBD?
Cannabidiol. Put me on the spot there.
That's right. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That's what the co-host is for.
Always makes me look good.
Cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol.
Or cannabidiol.
Or cannabidiol.
Oh,
well, it's
look who's the
potato.
Hey.
It is a potato thing, but basically Curt blew it. That was really where I was going
Well,
with
look
it.
who came with the answer and got up one up. So, now, Will, you're very much involved for those worldwide viewers now. I'm seeing we're picking up a lot of viewers online. Massachusetts has a vape ban. It's gone to the Supreme Court of Massachusetts. Can you give us an update on where we stand today on the vape ban and what's going on?
Sure. A week ago last Tuesday, Judge Wilkins in the Superior Court determined that the Department of Public Health had no jurisdiction over medical cannabis. That jurisdiction had been ceded to the Cannabis Control Commission. And so he said, Cannabis Control Commission, you've got a week to either do something or not do anything. So, and that time clock ran out at noon on Tuesday. So just before noon on Tuesday, the Cannabis Control Commission said, we're going to quarantine all of the medical vape products except for flower vapes. And so I believe that what they intend to do is do a recall of some of those products and test them all to see if there's anything in them that is harmful to medical patients.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Cannabis Control Commission. We know they have a very tough job. But in this case, they ceded that announcement or that decision to their executive director named Collins. This guy, Sean Collins.
Sean Collins.
And I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of this guy. I'm sorry. Maybe I need to get more in, bed with the Cannabis Control Commission and looking at all their notes. I've been to one hearing, so I'm not a regular covering it there. But I thought they kind of passed the buck a little bit over to another person that's involved with the commission, but they didn't say anything.
Well, the reason that they did that was because in order to take any action on their own, they have to meet in an open public meeting with all of them there, or at least on the phone. So they essentially said, we are going to delegate our authority to the executive director, and that's certainly what they did. And I will tell you, I've known Sean Collins for a while. He was working for Treasurer Deb Goldberg and did all of the research for her when it was anticipated that she was going to be the person who was going to be in charge of regulating the marijuana industry. Actually, the legislature changed the initiative that we had, so that didn't happen. But Sean was very versant in all of the cannabis world before he took the job as executive director.
Was that the right call? Did you think he made the right call on the quarantine? Like that was he claims it was for public protection and health.
Well, the problem is they don't know what's they would certainly like to know what's in all of those products, but the only thing that's tested for is THC and all of the active ingredients, pesticides, mold, heavy metals, but they haven't until recently looked at the other inert ingredients like vitamin E acetate, which is apparently what the CDC has targeted as the main culprit of all of this.
And mostly on the illicit market. I want to make sure that we keep saying that because for anyone who's been into a medical dispensary or has a card, you know exactly what is going into that. Now, what we don't know really is the interaction with that with the actual cartridge itself. So it does look like they may actually institute some kind of an inspection or compliance process for those cartridges now.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are several things that need to be tested. Obviously, the extract needs to be tested. The cartridges need to be tested. The extract that's been sitting in the cartridges for a while that may have leached something into the extract needs to be tested. And obviously, the vapor needs to be tested. I don't think there are any labs in Massachusetts that are doing that, but I did have a chance to talk with a plant chemist who said in other medical areas there are tests for all of that stuff.
Right. And then hopefully we'll be able to see that. Now, I will tell you, I watched the Today Show this morning, and I watch it almost every morning, and they had a very interesting story about a new company in California called Cannabis that is actually testing the vapor that is being blown out of your mouth. You breathe it in, you exhale. So the exhalant and exhalant, I guess it would be, right, as opposed to inhalant, right? I don't know. I teach sports. Anyway, so it was fascinating to hear that they found in that vapor, okay, some not nice things. And they both tested the legal market in California and the illegal market in California. And I was extremely disturbed to see the fake packaging that looked like the real thing. And it's people are always looking to make a buck, Will. They're always trying to make shortcuts. And now people have died. So it is a public health thing. Really? Yes?
Yeah, I think, I don't think there's any question that it's a concern. But I also think that the Cannabis Control Commission, it's an argument for regulation.
Right, 100%.
And so I think the Cannabis Control Commission has it with, and frankly, what I think is that this quarantine should have happened on September 24th when the governor announced this. And if that had happened back then, by now we would know what's in the products.
Now, that company didn't exist a month ago. They developed this in a month. And the point of the story was, why isn't the federal government or the CDC working as hard as this young 1 month company? Because isn't that what they should be doing? Just saying. Public health, right? That's kind of what they should be doing, right?
Yep.
And it took it seems to me maybe they get in touch with the Cannabis people and start talking to them a little bit so that we know what is going in. That's the whole point of regulation, right?
Right.
I don't want to get it from the guy in the parking lot anymore. I want to know exactly what it is, where it came from. These days, my goodness gracious, because of all the scientists and the DNA, they can actually tell you what this flower is supposed to do to you. That's crazy to me.
And that's really one of the arguments that we had for the initiative when we were working on it was, it makes much more sense for folks to be able to buy a product that they know what's in it, that they know is safe, and that they're not going down to the corner and buying it from their guy who may want to sell them other stuff besides weed.
Right. Oh, 100%. And it's just... Think about this. This was an illegal product for about 80 years. And for that amount of time, there were plenty of people in the world that were actually using this product, even though it was an illegal product. Yeah, I know. I'm telling something you didn't know. But so for years, you've been sneaking around the corner and hanging out and all that, right? Come on, guys, we've all done that. That being said, now it's legal. It's out there. We want it regulated. But it's like you're still kind of sneaking around a little bit too, or that illicit market is doing so well. I thought the illicit market would eventually just kind of go away, but instead they're doing really well.
So just a little personal backstory for me. in the late 60s and early 70s, I was a hippie. And I always say,
So you had long hair.
once a hippie, always a hippie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hippie at heart, we call it. Yep.
1970 in Buffalo, I was arrested for possession of less than a quarter of an ounce of marijuana.
That's not on the bio.
You're old enough to remember what a film
1/4
canister
ounce.
looks like.
Yeah.
I used to cut film with a razor blade, so
Lord.
yes, I do know.
So I had a film canister half full of weed, and the cop stuck his hand in my pocket in order to get it. So it was an illegal search. That was thrown out of court, but it was one of the impetuses for me to go to law school.
Oh, I would think so. Where did you go to law school? Just
I went to
curiosity.
New England.
Oh, okay, correct. Great.
So I'm curious your reaction when the ban first happened and Baker announced it. Some of the pushback was, if your goal is to get the illicit market shut down, why would you? Let's go stop all the legal retailers immediately. Wouldn't that send everyone to where you don't want them?
Absolutely.
What was your reaction to that?
So there were several people who testified in the case before Judge Wilkins who said, look, if I can't get my medicine, I'm either going to have to go to the illegal market or I'm going to have to go to Maine or Rhode Island and make my purchases there, or I'm going to have to go back to using opiates. And so all of those things are negative consequences.
So if you were in that position and you were Governor Baker, who obviously is not a big fan of cannabis, what would your reaction be when, hey, people are getting sick, it might be in Massachusetts, we're seeing things? What would be the correct thing he should have done there?
Well, I think Colorado has done an appropriate thing by just looking at and banning all of those additives that they think are harmful.
Sure.
And so there are other thinners and thickeners that may cause a problem. For instance, and I'm not a scientist, I'm a lawyer. So
And a hippie.
yeah,
And a hippie.
A hippie lawyer.
I was a freaky jock. That's how I kind of looked at myself back in the day. Okay.
But there's they use propylene glycol, they use vegetables glycerin, and it's been suggested that some of those things, if they're heated to the right temperature, form formaldehyde,
Right.
Which is not something you want to be inhaling.
That's what they found at Cannapure. Is they found formaldehyde and the other one, cyanide.
Cyanide, yeah.
That's probably not a good thing to have in your body.
No,
love
I'm
that
just
stuff.
saying, right? It's unbelievable. Where do you think we're going to end up with this whole vaping thing at this point, Will? I mean, are we going to see more regulations on those cartridges?
Yeah, I think we will. The Cannabis Control Commission, in their action that they ceded their authority to the executive director, also said we're going to regulate and test all of these products. And so I think eventually that's where they're going to go. But it takes so long to fashion new regulations. They have to have public hearings and all that. So it'll be a while before those things actually happen. But I'm hopeful that they will authorize medical vaping to resume, because obviously the problem is now medical patients can't get their medicine.
Right, and they're going to other states to get it. They're definitely going up to Maine to get it because it's available there.
And the pen you need to do a herb vaporizer is much more expensive, harder to get. You got to plan that one out a little more. It's not just a battery you just screw on and off you go. It's more expensive, which probably people can't afford too.
Right.
And the Cannabis Control Commission has said, look, we're not going to be dealing with those vape pens because we only regulate marijuana, and those flower vape devices are not marijuana, and so they're not within our authority. And so if you want to buy one of those, you got to find a vape shop that's open that'll sell you a flower oven or a flower vape pen.
There is the internet, too, that you can get those on. Not that I did that or anything, but I did. And you can also use the WeeJet, okay? I'm just saying. All right. So let's go back to the actual question for experience. From what I've read, and since you were in the trenches, okay, a lot of people, even in the committee, weren't sure it was going to pass, right?
Well, we were doing polling all along.
Yeah.
And so it got close at one point, but then it sort of opened up again. And so we were hopeful all the way in. But, we had a party at Lear on Boylston Street, the election night watch party. And it was interesting because the people from Commonwealth Magazine were having an election watch party on the third floor of Lear, and we were in the basement. And so when we knew that the initiative was going to pass. Everybody was happy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then when we looked at the presidential returns and saw Trump happening, we said, we're going to need this in the next 4 years.
Let's talk about he who should not be named. I just call it POTUS, okay?
I call him 45.
And what did I say? I saw a funny thing the other day about 45. But anyway, I'm afraid November 2020, a week before, he's finally going to make that call because all it takes to deschedule it from Schedule 1 is an administrative phone call. I learned this from Steve D'Angelo, who knows a heck of a lot more about this stuff than I do, for sure. I'm afraid he's going to deschedule it in order to gain votes from the pro-cannabis movement that's out there. I'm afraid of that. Am I rightfully so?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, wait, I got to stop you there. We have a very viral article that got people's attention saying, would you deal with the devil, no pun intended, 4 more years, but you get full descheduling. Would you take it?
No.
Would you take it?
No.
Okay.
I want him out. Sorry. You know what? I've said this many times on many podcasts, and what the heck? I'll do it again. It's the first time in my life, I'm 62 years old, that I've been embarrassed to be an American. I swear to God, when I go visit England or I go into the islands or whatever, it's like, yeah, I know who our president is. I know. I'm sorry. It's like the old days. There used to be a bumper sticker that said, "Don't blame me. I voted for McGovern." Mm-hmm. You remember that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
That's how I felt. That's kind of where I'm at,
I think we have a phone call coming in.
Terrific. I think we're going to go to the phone call. And you know what? I can't wait to have a sponsor of our phone-in line, right? I'm just saying.
Right.
Because we have 2 sponsors now.
Right.
We're very happy with them both. But, I really want to sponsor.
The Chongs Choice 800 number?
Thank you very much.
Tommy Chong.
Let's welcome in Chris Walsh from the MLBIZ Con himself. Hello, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
Good. You're on with Jimmy Young. That would be me. And Curt Dalton.
How are you?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you both.
And we also have Will Luzier here, who's been a cannabis advocate in Massachusetts for many years, and he too admitted that when he and I both end up at MLBIZ Con for the first time, we're going to break our cherries at MLBIZ Con, if you will.
You got 2 rookies here, Chris. 2 rookies coming. I'm bringing them.
All right, we're going to break you in.
Appreciate it. What can I expect?
I think you'll be pretty awestruck. I mean, it's we grew this from 400 people our first year in Denver in 2012, and this year we're expecting at least 35,000 people.
Oh, 35. Wow.
Yep.
It was like 20 last year, or 25.
Wow.
That's a Fenway sellout.
That's right.
It's pretty massive now, and it really shows you kind of the growth of the industry and the excitement and the buzz around it right now.
Yeah, and we love the play on words and stuff. So Curt, being a veteran of your convention, has tried to paint the picture for me. How many vendors do you have there, or at least the ballpark?
We're going to have over 1,200, so it's basically 2 halls in the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Bring your walking shoes, right? Bring your walking shoes.
I mean, I've heard.
Oh yeah, bring it back up here.
I've heard that you can't get to everybody. It's just almost impossible to talk to every single person in there. I bet you've tried, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I can barely make it across the show floor in the 3 days that we're there. It can get pretty crowded, but yeah, it's a massive show floor and it's hard to see everyone. But so you have to kind of have a strategy going in.
Okay, give us some insight. What's the strategy? Come on, I want to know. I'm going to take notes too, Chris.
Well, first find the beer tent, the beer hall, and then go from there.
I don't drink beer, okay? Sorry, I don't drink beer. It rips up my stomach. Is there a vodka tent?
No vodka tent, maybe next year.
Okay, fair enough. Call Tito's. He's in Austin, Texas.
So, Chris, for people in Massachusetts and the Northeast that are listening and kind of aren't as familiar with your show, I have literally a standard line I tell people, which came up twice today. Once with a call to Israel, a group that wanted to talk to us at Cannabis.net, and a group from Germany. And I literally say this. Okay, if you have to go to 1 show a year, you need to go to MLBIZ Con in Vegas. I tell the Americans it is the Super Bowl of cannabis shows. I tell the non-American it is the World Cup. You have people from China, Japan. I've been there now 4 years. Germany, France. Why does the East Coast, and we have a lot of Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire watchers and listeners, why should they come out in, about 25 days? We're getting pretty close.
December 11th, right, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, coming up. Yeah, I would say because it's where the entire industry gathers, and we're actually making a big push this year. It's normally been focused on the U.S., but now this is the global cannabis industry show. So this is where the world is congregating for this industry. So we're going to have people from over 70 countries. And if you look at the map, the world map of where people are coming from, it's all over the globe. And some surprising countries are on there, too, throughout Africa, some in the Middle East, across Asia. So if you're in Massachusetts, you might not care about Asia or some of these other regions, but the entire U.S. and Canadian industry gathers here, too. So if you're looking to get the most bang for your buck, if you need to meet people, investors, potential clients, if you need to learn, if you need to find new vendors, it's kind of all there under one roof.
But it's not just a walkable trade show. I don't want people to think that. Who's on the speaker and the panel list that has you excited this year? Because everyone is there. It is the who's who. What's going on what can people sign up for on the panels, and who can they hear speak?
Yeah, I mean, one of our main keynotes this year is Mark Randolph. He's the co-founder of Netflix. And
little company.
You might have heard of them. You might say, well, what does that have to do with cannabis? But what we try and do is bring in these, experienced, visionary business people to draw parallels to their experience to cannabis, so that you can actually get what you can't get at a lot of conferences and hear from the same kind of people, where you can get some of these tips and insights from people who have been really successful, been in disruptive industries, took on the big giant companies, reinvented, a sector. So we're excited about him. We also have some great investing content in hemp and international. Those are our big areas right now. And in terms of people from the cannabis industry, what we try and do is have a diverse balance between kind of the people that have been in it for a long time that you need to hear from. They're really smart and share great insights, with the newer people getting in from the large MSOs or from other mainstream industries that are kind of bridging their experience with this cannabis sector.
And, of course, it is in Las Vegas. And I saw your email today from MLBIZ Con about the after parties. Could you give us a little heads up on what people coming out could expect at a cannabis show Las Vegas after party?
Probably everything you'd expect. We have our own show, and we're kind of the straight and narrow guys at the party.
No,
we're the business, we're the MLBIZ, businessy. But we have our own. For our first time, we're doing an awards show. People have been asking for years for us to do it because we have a lot of credibility. The way we approach it, it's not a popularity contest. It's not influenced by sponsors. So we have a kind of a gala and awards show that we're doing. But then, there's multiple dozens of things going on every night in clubs, in hotels. If you want to kind of party, with booze-filled venues or cannabis, there's lots of options. Or if you want professional networking and that kind of environment, it's really all over the board. But it's Vegas, so you can have a lot of fun at the show. All
right, real quick, how can people sign up? How can they get a ticket? What do they have to do?
Yeah, if you just go to mjbizdaily.com, there's a tab there where you can find all our conferences, and MLBIZ Con is right on there. That's the name of the big show. We're doing an investor intelligence conference. As I said, we've got hemp content, science. So that'll get you into the portal, which kind of shows you everything we're offering.
Terrific, Chris. So I ran into you at CanX, and I look forward to actually hanging out with you for, I'll take a minute at this point because I know how busy you're going to be. But I really appreciate you taking the time tonight to enlighten our audience a little bit about what is going to go on in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. Chris Walsh, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you there.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
More Weed Talk with Curt and Jimmy coming up. Don't go away.
About harmony. When you look at the plant world, it's probably the most harmonious world. It gives life to so many other species. Everybody uses it. It gives human being oxygen. All of that. And it just stands there while we just dominate. In our leadership that we claim of the world, or imaginary hierarchy is one of domination. While the plant is really here as a sustainable way to keep us thinking this type of a way. And I think that, the plant speaks, I myself have had these conversations with the plant and recognizes that really and truly, why are we so determined, even under everything that the government is trying to do to stop us? We held on to this plant, and it's really because of the plant and what the plant share with us whenever we are in relating with the plant has been so valuable that no law could actually stop us from having that relationship. So it's really the voice of the plant that keeps us connected to the plant. It's the message of the plant, what it does for us as an individual. It gives us sovereignty.
Welcome back to We Talk with Curt and Jimmy. I would be Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media.
And this is Curt Dalton from Cannabis.net.
And we also have Will Luzier with us from Tudestr. And we also have a few new supporters of this show, and we want to thank them. We want to thank Legal Seafoods, not Chris Walsh. We could thank him again, though. But more importantly, we can thank Legal Seafood, Weejits, and Caroline's Cannabis. Now, Will, tell me, you were the first customer at Caroline's?
Yeah.
How did that work out?
The first time I met Caroline and Steve came up to me and he said, we're going to be friends. I was friends with his wife on Facebook. And I said, why is that? He said, because we're both from Buffalo, we're both Buffalo Bills fans, and we have the same birthday. So
Wow.
Steve and I have been close ever since.
There you go.
I mean, you're both Buffalo fans.
Yeah. And they have a great shop there.
Yep.
They're just in the process of working it out so that they'll have a little bit more space.
Oh, great. There was that empty kind of a loading dock next to where their shop is. I'm hoping, are they taking that over?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that idea.
And there's a Gibby's Gardens is right around the corner, and that's a micro business, and they're just in the process of harvesting their first crop. And I think Caroline's going to buy it all.
Oh, that's great.
Wow. It's a great local story.
It is a great local story, and a great story, by the way, again, of women entrepreneurs in the cannabis space. It's another reason why we're excited about going to Las Vegas, besides all the stuff that Chris Walsh was talking about. But we are definitely happy to be going to the Women in Cannabis Conference. That's the Tuesday before the actual MLBIZ Con starts. And it is one of the things over the last 18, 19 months since I've thrown myself into this industry and learned as much as I possibly can, that I am amazed at how many women are in the cannabis business and have impacted it. And it's almost like, I don't want to say they're dominating, but they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. Do you find that to be true, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think here's an example, not a necessarily good example, but 4 of the 5 commissioners on the Cannabis Control Commission are women.
Yeah, I did notice that. And Steve is sitting up there going, yeah. All right. No, but seriously, I think that they see an opportunity in a ground floor industry. And I actually think women are just tired of being not invited into the corporate boardroom, and they want to have an opportunity to sit at the table.
I think that's right.
I think it's great. I mean, does it coincide with the Me Too movement? Absolutely, because the timing is here. But let's just see what happens in next. But we certainly are looking forward to that in Las Vegas, and that conference in particular. They have a lot of speakers there, and we'll be doing a lot of interviews for In the Weeds and creating all sorts of content. And it's so funny, everybody talks about the parties, and I'm like, oh yeah, the parties. I'm like thinking, okay, I got 18-hour days. I remember going to the Super Bowl a couple of times. I never worked so freaking hard in my life, okay? 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. straight out. If you remember to eat something, it's great. But you're always on another deadline and another deadline. And Curt, you're a freaking content machine.
Are you doing autographs this year?
Why would I do it? It's not even worth anything on a check.
If people can find you, if they see you at the show, will you sign like a hat, Jimmy Young? Will you do it this year?
I tell you what, if somebody actually recognizes me on the streets of Las Vegas
in the show, you got to sign.
Fine, I'll be happy to. But I tell them that I use this line. It's not even worth anything on a check. Why the hell would you want my signature? Okay.
Nope. Maybe a Pro Cannabis Media T-shirt with Jimmy's signature. I don't know. That may be coming very soon. Let's just say we've got a few interesting plans in the works, as they say.
Send me some swag.
Yeah, it's right. He's going to walk around with some swag too.
With more sponsors, we'll have plenty of swag. It's pretty simple. I'm into sharing the wealth, okay? And I'm sharing the experience with young people all the time. I mean, Will, I don't know if you know this, but I've been a mentor for hundreds of young people in their broadcast careers, and that's what drives me now. Even though I'm the host of this show and we founded Pro Cannabis Media, it is a group of websites that are like-minded on the internet, and we're looking for the best of the best. Think of CBS or ABC or NBC in its infancy, and it's the affiliate that we are developing, and I'm so happy to have an affiliate person in the room with me, Curt Dalton from Cannabis.net, who's done a great job. Boy, but this is like self-stroking hour all of a sudden.
I know. I was going to say, I'll tell the people, too, if you do go out to the show, Nevada is leaps and bounds as far as Massachusetts for recreational. And just around the convention center, not to mention the hotels, there's 6 dispensaries in full rec. They've had full rec, no problems, no baloney, no feet dragging. So you can go there and get any cannabis product you would like very easily, very readily, like going into a 7-Eleven here. So there will be a lot of usage, not in the convention center technically, but outside the convention center, it looks like a Cheech and Chong movie at all times. Yes,
that's right.
So,
go ahead.
So the state of Nevada voted on cannabis, the same legalization of cannabis, the same day we did. And 6 months later, actually maybe 7.5 months later, they had their adult use shops open. It took us almost 2 years to do that. And one of the things that they were able to do was just convert all of their medical to legal. But
Correct.
I want to go, I understand there's a place called Planet 13.
Yep.
That's the biggest dispensary in the world.
So we've done a walkthrough of that. We did the tour as it opened for Cannabis.net, and it's literally like the size of like a football stadium, kind of half indoor, actually all indoor now. And it has a nice dispensary, and now they've opened up a restaurant, and they have all these cool things they've imported from around the world where there's like laser beam fish, and there's stuff that flies around like drones, and it's really become, I'm not going to call it Disney yet, but it's just this experience of not just buying your cannabis, okay, here you go, get out the door. It's almost like a playground.
Yeah, and supposedly social clubs are coming to Massachusetts. What did it take, 2 years to get the adult use rec? So it could take another 2 years before we see a cannabis social use club. Will, what do you think that's going to look like? And I think Uxbridge, believe it or not, is one of the places that they're going to test the social club.
Yeah, so...
By the way, I didn't even know Uxbridge existed, right? And now Caroline's is there, and now we're going to have a social club there. I mean, I'm just saying.
They've been very open to cannabis commerce, and there are a number of cities and towns across Massachusetts that are like that. Pittsfield is one. Holyoke is another. Holyoke was actually the mayor of Holyoke. Alex Morse was the only mayor in
public
Massachusetts.
Figure. The first public figure to come out for question 4.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate that support, but he understood that because he has all these mill buildings down by the river that were not used, that were perfect for conversion to indoor cultivation facilities, that it was an economic driver for the city of Holyoke.
And the taxes that have been generated for the city of Holyoke are fueling the turnaround of that city. And that's the whole idea here, people, is to build up those taxes. Let's do something about our roads, shall we? Should we do something about our education system? I'm just saying, these would be good things to use this tax money for. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Colorado's leading the way with the shelters, the schools, the roads. I mean, they're a blueprint.
Yep. And their governor is very, very happy about that, too.
I think we hit $1 billion in taxes cumulative for the 6 years of being up, or 7 now.
And the last time I checked the Massachusetts Tote Board, the sales tote board that we do on a weekly basis, we look on the public documents at the Cannabis Control Commission site, it was about $335 million in adult use recreational sales to date. I mean, from November 20th to now. And I believe, and Will correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong a lot.
I don't believe
that. Yes,
correct him a lot.
It was, I believe they projected a $400 million in the first year. So whoever was involved in slowing down the rollout of this industry, they certainly accomplished that. I don't want to name names from the political sphere, but read between the lines.
We had some powerful political opponents.
The governor and the mayor of Boston.
The governor, the mayor of Boston, the attorney general, the speaker of the House, and we had
just to name a few.
One of the first press conferences we had, people said, "Well, what about the governor? What about the?" I said, "Look, those folks have one vote.
Right.
We're just going to let them vote and let everybody else vote and see how it turns out."
And it is the power of the people. It is where people in true democracy can move this movement to get this going, and not just in Massachusetts. A lot of legislatures in different states, New Jersey, New York, trying to get it done that way. Not happening. They need to get a kick in the backside and a question on their ballot so that they have to get it done instead of trying to figure out how to get it done.
And I think that's going to happen eventually. And frankly, I think Massachusetts was the first domino to fall on the East Coast, and there'll be other, and Maine,
Right.
and there'll be other folks that will hop on board.
Right. Maine and Massachusetts were one at the beginning.
Yes.
Right. I'm just saying. I spent 11 years in Maine at Channel 13 up there, the CBS affiliate, and it is my second home. I love the state of Maine. I love the people of Maine, and I love going up there now because guess what? They're selling cartridges. All right. Now, enough already. Who wants to introduce this? Do you want to set this up a little bit? Because
Yes.
let's give credit where credit is due. Ryan Kornblatt, one of the founders of the Weed Tube, which is an affiliate of Pro Cannabis Media, has a connection with the Tommy Chong investment group, and he's the one who said, I might be able to do that for you. Curt?
All right, so this started with an article on Cannabis.net that I actually wrote about how does Tommy Chong feel about being a legend on the Mount Rushmore of weed, as we call it, yet 5 minutes later, that same person that is praising him will turn to someone and say, we're not Cheech and Chong stoners. That stereotype has to die. I don't just sit around and go, hey, man, and lay on my couch. So we wrote this article saying, how does it feel to be a hero and a villain at the same time? Does Tommy Chong have to fall on the sword to get Chong's Choice shipped across the state line for full legalization?
Right, and it's Chong Incorporated now.
Right.
So that has something
does
to do
that
with it.
character have to die that we love and for this to move forward, because that Cheech and Chong stoner stereotype is being rejected by Cannabis Culture 2.0? So this article leads to us in CanX, where we meet Steve D'Angelo,
right,
maybe the godfather of hippie culture, and we ask him this question, and you can look up the video that we put in this article.
Yeah.
He took the question a little bit wrong, but
by the way, it's also on Pro Cannabis.
Pro Cannabis Media has it, right.
Yeah,
so he was very emotional and said hippie culture needs to survive. It's what the world needs. So this kind of gets around, and people are debating, is it bittersweet for Tommy to be, again, kind of worshipped, but also we need to kill that character. Thanks anyway. Going in, Jimmy makes it happen. We get Tommy Chong on the phone, and I get to ask him this exact type of question.
So let's take a listen to hang out with a 2-on-1, if you will, with Tommy Chong.
Hello.
Hello, Tommy Chong, and how are you, sir?
Are you in Boston?
We are in Boston, the greatest sports city in America. You probably know that.
Why?
Why? Because we always win.
Boston Bruins win?
Yes, they have won once in the last few years. Yes, they have.
There are 2 games, yeah.
All right. Hey, let's talk some weed, shall we, Tommy? I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. I know you've had a busy day with your shoot. And first of all, I got to ask you about Chong's Choice. Tell me a little bit about the company and what you're doing now.
Well, Chong's Choice, we started right when weed got legal, and we're, our biggest, or one of our biggest product is chocolate. It's called Defense Chocolate, and it's Chong's Choice chocolate, and it's infused, and all the ladies love it. It helps. My wife loves it because it helps her sleep at night, and then we have flour, and we have all the other goodies. We have trays and grinders and all sorts of stuff, and it just gives me something to sell while I'm talking to you guys.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Tommy, nice to meet you. This is Curt with Cannabis.net. Big fan. I really appreciate your work. And I've been waiting a long time to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
First, we did a story on Cannabis.net that was, does Cheech and Chong need to die for for Chong's Choice to go national? And the gist of the story was, is there any mixed emotions, or is it bittersweet for you when, on one hand, the new cannabis culture puts you on a pedestal, the Mount Rushmore of weed, and appreciates what you did, but in the same conversation will say, we're not Cheech and Chong stoners. We're not that kind of character. We go to work. We have jobs. How do you feel inside when you kind of get a compliment and a little bit of a backhand from the same culture now?
Well, compared to where we were, It doesn't matter. I don't care what people think. In fact, you know what they found is that negative publicity is more effective, and that's probably what happens. When you mention anybody, especially Cheech and Chong, in the same breath as cannabis, it's a plus, no matter what what you're saying. Like they used to say, Up in Smoke promoted people to drive crazy, bad drivers, and all people heard was Up in Smoke and Cheech and Chong. That's all they hear. So no, I don't. I think any publicity is good publicity. It's when they quit talking about you that you got to worry about it.
Do you think that the stereotype of that character, which is beloved and you created, kind of has to go away for Chong's Choice to be shipped over a state line for you to be able to ship to, say, Massachusetts? And
even worse, like in Canada, I'm not allowed to even use my name. They have no celebrity whatsoever. You're not supposed to. But again, that just creates more publicity, and then people go, what? Then I want something. That was always Cheech and Chong's secret weapon. The kids weren't supposed to be listening to our records. And you tell a kid not to do anything, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And same as the movies. As soon as our movie got rated PG, that's when the movie really took off, because now kids are going to say, it's a forbidden fruit. And so, again, the stereotypes always work. As long as they talk about you.
That's true. Why Jimmy and I got to ask the same question to Steve D'Angelo in Jamaica in reference to you in this article, and he ripped me a new one for 30, maybe 3 minutes straight, defending you in the hippie culture. So you were much nicer than Steve D'Angelo was to me.
Well, again, you see what you're doing. You're dealing with the negatives, and the negatives always are more interesting.
Sure.
You watch the news, and that's what all you hear is negative stuff. And then every once in a while you hear something nice, but you can't be nice for too long. People turn you off. So you got to do it. And I understand what when people want to defend it, because that means they take it personal. See, I don't take anything personal ever, and like, I went to jail for bongs, and I wasn't the least bit bitter. I was actually excited about going. It was a new adventure, and I, everything I did was right. Like I went to jail for my son, basically. They told me if I didn't plead guilty, I was innocent, and I could have walked. But then the Fed said that if I don't take their deal, they're going to go after my wife and son. And this is the Feds. And so just the lawyer fees alone would break me. So I said, no, I'll go to jail. And it turned out to be one of the best things I did, all the way around. I met great people. I had a great time. It was exciting. I was really, really glad to get out, It was, and that's what you have to do. And see, the thing is about marijuana, we're right. Cheech and I both used to say, when the people that, attack and talk about kids and all that, the old fashioned stuff, I would tell them, what if we're right? What if we are right and you're wrong? And next thing you know, they found out that marijuana helps kids with epilepsy. It helps people with Alzheimer's. It helps people with MS. I mean, now MS apparently has acknowledged the fact, the researchers have acknowledged the fact that marijuana does work, and they're going full bore, to get the MS people on board with the cannabis. So, no matter what you say, you can talk bad about Santa Claus, but he's still Santa Claus.
That's true. That's funny. Hey, Tommy, I know that you talked a little bit about your experience in prison, but you met somebody very special there that people may want to know who that is, and I believe you're still friendly with Jordan Belfort, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, Jordan and I shared a cubicle, and I helped him write his book. And the way I helped him was with negative. He showed me a page of what he had written, and he was trying to be sophisticated and write like Tom Wolfe, In fact, it was a copy of Tom Wolfe, and I busted him on it. And so then he got kind of mad at me, and then he went off. But I told him to write what you know. And next thing I know, he comes back. He didn't know. He didn't even come back with anything. He just went off, got mad, wrote, and then the next time I saw him, he pulled in front of my house because we weren't supposed to have any kind of connection because we were both, on probation. And so he yelled from his car. He goes, "Hey, I sold my book. I wrote I got a book called Wolf of Wall Street. I sold it to Martin Scorsese. They're going to do a movie." And he's yelling to me, and I said, "Oh, great, congratulations!" And I've seen him since then, and we're still good friends. And he wrote another book, but I helped him, and that's what I did in a lot in prison when I was there. Like I joined the Indian Sweat Lodge, and so every Saturday we would do the sweats and very very spiritual day, and I helped other people that were there, and that's really what I do now. I go around and just share the love, because that's what marijuana was all about. It was all about love.
And we're finally seeing some movement in Washington, D.C., too, Tommy. Can you believe that we've actually perhaps even seen the day when they're talking about making it legalized in America? Is that going to happen? Are you going to see that?
Well, even idiots have good days,
Let's leave it at that. I have a political comment I'm going to leave out. How's that? Hey,
okay.
Tommy Chong, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy day to join us on our show, We Talk Live. Obviously, I remember the 60s and 70s, so that kind of dates me a little bit. And I do remember going to the movie theater to watch your movie when I was a junior in college in the Boston area. So kind of a thrill for you to join us on the phone. Appreciate it. Best of luck with Chong's Choice. You want to give one more plug out for your business?
Yeah, if you want to get high and have fun, try Chong's Choice.
That's a great drop line.
All right, hey, Tommy, we always end every interview with the same question. If you're on a deserted island and you can only take 2 strains with you for the rest of your life, what are they?
2 strains?
Yeah.
Well, I would take an indica and a sativa.
No, you cannot camp out like that.
That's great. That is great. I like it. It doesn't matter to him, really and truly, Curt. It's just the plant, man. It's about the plant. That's what my Rasta guys taught me at Tommy Chong. Yeah.
Hey, a rose by any other name is still a rose.
That's right.
That's right.
And you are terrific, and we wish you the best of luck in the future, and we will keep in touch, too. Check out We Talk Live on Pro Cannabis Media and Cannabis.net. Thank you, Tommy Chong from California.
Okay, take care, brother.
Take care.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Tommy.
And there you go. I got my answer on what Tommy thinks of that dichotomy, maybe that character. And he had a great answer that all publicity is basically great.
No matter if it's negative or not.
Negative's even better. And look where we were, and he could care less. Basically, it doesn't bother him.
What he's saying is negative leads the news, because if it bleeds, it leads in the news business. It's sensational. It's going to get people talking. As opposed to positive news, which always ends the newscast, a little light kicker, as they say. So, just a little insight on the news business.
You know what James Michael Curley said? Any knocks a boost, just spell my name right.
Yeah, there you go. Even idiots have good days.
Right? And he told the story about being with the Wolf of Wall Street in his cubicle.
That's right.
And he said he helped him get a book deal, which, of course, turned into a very big movie for Leo. And Tommy's you could just sit with him for like 3 hours. You just sit there and just talk. He's unbelievable.
About anything, too.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's talk a little bit about my old friends in the media, the traditional media. We understand the mentality is that their product is audience. So they generate audience by being sensational. And I don't want to say embellishing stories, but let's just say they sell the story to the audience. And then they charge advertisers based on a cost per thousand, and that's the product of media. But we don't see any positive stories about people who have had great experiences with cannabis as far as saving their lives or changing their lives. Are we ever going to see like a public service announcement, perhaps?
I don't know about public service announcements, but human interest stories. I mean, Stephen Mandilli's got a great story.
Yep.
And just elected for as selectman in Uxbridge.
Again, Uxbridge, right next to the tiny town of Mendon, by the way.
Right by Caroline's.
And so, I think those personal stories get out. And I will say, I think you're probably talking about the sort of radio television industry and maybe not.
Traditional media is what I'm old, so I think radio and TV.
I think, for instance, the Globe has been doing a pretty good job covering all of this. They started a vertical and they've got a whole team that's working on this. And those folks are friends of mine, and so I think they're doing a decent job.
A decent job. I'll leave it at that. I do think that Dan Adams missed one thing that happened and took a shot at my friends at Legal Seafoods. And
still sticks in your craw. Still sticks in your crawfish. It's in your crawfish.
I'm
still.
a sensitive, and I took it personally. I did. I'm like, don't you understand? This is a legitimate advertiser, a regular advertiser on sporting events and in the Boston market, and they're using those code words of 420 to actually respectfully recognize there's an audience out here for legal cannabis. I mean, to me, that was historic. And Dan Adams thought that it was. He said, they're promoting drug use. And I was like, what? Where did he get that from? Go get wasted on drugs. I'm pretty sure is what
and
he's
those commercials are all during Celtics games now because I end up watching all the Celtics games. And they come on all the time now. Yeah, they're pretty funny.
You've seen the commercials.
Yeah,
they're
legal. My favorite story about Legal Seafood is, they had their original site in Inman Square in Cambridge.
I've been there. I was there.
It burned down.
Yep.
And I always used to say, I went the day afterwards because they had a special on baked fish.
Oh!
Bada boom. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bing, bong, bong.
And a comedian. He's a hip.
That was really good.
He's a comedian.
Will Luzier, tell us one more time about Tudestr, what you're doing now.
So it's we're helping people through the licensing process. And we also have a speaker series. We had some folks in last week to talk about customer attraction and retention, and we did one other of those, and we're going to do another one in March or April. So licensing is mostly what we do right now.
Licensing it is. And
how can people find you?
How can people find you? Spell it, please.
Tudestr.com.
There you go. Tudestr.com. That's where you can find it and get some help. If you do want to get into this crazy cannabis business, one way or another, you're going to need a license to do it. So we certainly urge you to pick up the phone, get online, and by all means mention We Talk with Curt and Jimmy, because that's who we are, and this is the show. And remember, we have more to come, and I already have seen my special guest next in studio. Indeed, is Perry Antelman, the CEO of Abacus Health and CBD Medic. Don't go away.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Cannabis with Kim B from New York City. I am the CMO of Tribe Tokes, which is a really beautiful CBD and cannabis lifestyle company. I'm filling in for Jimmy Young, and guess what, guys? I love pro-cannabis media. That's a fact.
Hi, this is Erica Diener with Mammoth Microbes, and we are here at the NECAN event in Portland, Maine, telling growers about our great products, sustainable, clean solutions to the market that we have here, and we love pro-cannabis media.
Hi, this is Steve D'Angelo, and I love pro-cannabis media.
All right. Leon from All Per Plus. Yes, we represent 100% organic, and this is what we're all about. All natural, all safe, all effective stuff that's going to get the job done without the use of harsh pesticides. So, yeah, man, we have to keep it safe. We have to keep it natural. We're not trying to do the same thing that the cigarette industry do. So we're trying to provide something of a good, clean quality so people can appreciate it for what it is, appreciate medicine for what it is. And I love pro-cannabis media, man. Yes. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out here,
I'm in Jamaica, man.
Yes, it is. Yeah, man. Everything Ira.
I'm Prince Aston from Orange Hill, Jamaica. And I love cannabis media.
That was great. All right, we're going to have more stuff from the floor of the Canex in Jamaica. I can't wait to see who's next on the list.
It's yours. Camera's up there.
And welcome back to Weed Talk. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media.
And I'm Curt Dalton with Cannabis.net.
And we want to thank our new supporters. That would be our friends at Legal Seafoods once again, and also our friends Caroline's Cannabis in Uxbridge, and, of course, the really cool Weedjit. I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. There you go, the Weedjit. There it is. Woo! Okay, and look.
Yeah, show them what it does there.
Comes apart in not one.
Cooling system.
Not two. 5 million filters. It starts at 1,500 degrees in the bowl, and at 80 by the time it hits your lungs. It's a cooling, and it filters out all the crap that you get when you smoke. So it's the closest thing to actually vaping that I've had anyway.
Pretty safe, I guess.
Just saying that. Well, you know what? These days, it might be safer than vaping, right?
That's right.
That's what we're talking about. All right. Well, welcome back to We Talk, and we want to welcome in a very special guest, someone who really and truly has become a friend over the last couple of months. I met him here in Quincy for the first time, right across the street at a Cannapreneur event. And Perry Antelman, the CEO of Abacus and CBD Medic in studio. And Perry, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. I know you're just coming off a very long couple of days.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy, tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, tell us what's going on with Abacus and CBD Medic. And did we see the Gronk and Perry show at the conference? Is that what's going on or what?
There was a little bit of that at the show, at the Cowan Conference, which was for 2 days. And actually Tuesday, Gronk took the stage with a fire chat side, which was really great. He was fantastic. He was actually spectacular. It was about a 20, 25-minute fire chat, and it was just great, back and forth. He finished the talk with throwing footballs into the,
Was it Abacus footballs or CBD Medic footballs, or were they Wilson and Spalding or something?
Yeah, actually they were Cowan footballs.
Oh, Cowan footballs. Well, it was their conference, right?
It was.
All right, so that's okay. We can let them get away with that. Perry, what a little bit more about your company. Tell me a little bit about it, because for those who don't know, it's traded on the Canadian stock market, Abacus,
that's
right?
That's correct, yes.
And it is available in many CVSs, not New England, but many CVSs. And now, did you not sign another group?
We did. We can't publicize who that is, but it is another major retail pharmacy chain.
Very good. It's a good thing I didn't say it then.
I don't think I told you.
I was there that day. I just remember. Let's just say. Anyway, so talk a little bit about how this product came about and what is so special about it, and why Rob Gronkowski, who is one of the more beat-up NFL greats of all time, certainly perhaps one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest tight end in football of all time, used the product and loved it. How did tell the story again? I know the story, but tell the story again.
Let me frame this for all the Boston sports fans who listen to the sports stations. Every time there's a Gronk story about him coming back, and whether it's Felger or someone on EEI says, yeah, he's doing that CBD thing, I don't think he's coming back. That's your CBD. Right here, CBD guy he's working with. So now go ahead. This is the guy.
That does set it up nicely.
He's keeping Gronk away from the Patriots. No, just kidding.
I'm not going to make it a live home.
Right, exactly. But how did it all start?
Okay, so, well, first of all, I founded a dermatological pharmaceutical company 15 years ago. And it's a company deeply rooted in science and R&D. So our company grew over the years. We are a manufacturer of over-the-counter topical products like antifungal products, antiviral products, antimicrobial products. So that company continued to grow. And it has a full FDA registered and audited manufacturing facility as well. It was 5 years ago. We wanted to know what it was about cannabis that was giving people pain relief. So we tapped our network of scientists, chemists, formulators, and we said, tell us about this. They said, oh, well, you know what, if you can, there's a cannabinoid called cannabidiol, and if it can be absorbed into the top layers of the skin, it could connect with primary receptors that can help with inflammation as well as signaling of pain back to the brain. So we were really intrigued. We said, well, that is something, first of all, we did not have. We had all the formulations we had until that time were for infections of the skin. We had nothing for neuropathy, nothing for pain relief. So we already had some fantastic technology. We said, you know what, let's take that technology, let's formulate a new formulation with CBD. Let's put everything in there that we could think that would be good. So we started with our base, which was quickly absorbed into the skin. We added camphor and menthol, which are known active pharmaceutical ingredients for, analgesics, for pain, as you know, camphor and menthol. We all know how well those work. They do work 20 to 40 minutes. Then we added additional strong essential oils that also help with pain relief. And then we added the CBD. So this was like a 4-part technology. Put it all together, tested it into the healthcare practitioner space for about 6 months, and the feedback was nothing short of phenomenal. Take it 3 years forward. We are sold in well over 13,000 healthcare practitioners' offices throughout the United States. And how does the story move along? An acquaintance of ours, actually of mine, also happens to be an acquaintance of Rob's dad, Gordy Sr., and he ends up, he used our product. So the acquaintance of ours used our product. He had back pain. He's friendly with Gordy, going back 12, 15 years. Says, hey, Gordy, you got to try this for your hip. He sends some to him. He calls him back and says, this stuff is amazing. He goes, wow, I love this. Few weeks go by. Gordy sends it to Rob, right here in Foxborough. And it's hanging around his house for a few weeks. Rob's in his backyard one afternoon playing soccer, bangs his toes, 3 middle toes. They turn black and blue. He's telling his dad about it. Dad, I got this pain in my toes. He's like, did you try that stuff? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you sent me that stuff. He takes the tube now. Rob is all about everything natural. I mean, he is a natural beast.
Yes.
Everything he eats, everything he drinks, he's all natural. He just lives natural and fitness. So first thing he does, he looks at that, he goes, well, I'm not going to put anything on me if I can't read the ingredients and I don't understand what's in there. Sure enough, he says, oh, I know what that is. Oh, these are all natural ingredients. I love this. He puts it on his toes, and the rest is history. 5 hours of pain relief. He calls up his dad. This stuff is amazing. He then takes the tube and starts smearing it all over his body.
Smell right.
Yeah.
Not shocking.
He didn't have help doing that. I'm just saying, but that's good. That's a great story, and I love it. By the way, I would have loved to have been in the backyard kicking the soccer ball around with Gronk that day. I just want to say, because I just can't imagine somebody that big playing soccer unless you're in goal. Just saying.
Yeah. But you mentioned 3 years ago. You want to hear a personal story as well? 3 years ago, Cannabis.net met these guys. I think it was your New York show at the Javits Center, and they were doing a crowdfunding at the time. And we said, I'll try some. On the shoulder, I'm not getting paid for this plug. We ended up doing a story helping with the crowdfunding campaign. And whenever anyone asked me in the last 3 years, hey, you have a lot of products in your store. Like, what do you like? The CBD, I don't know if you still do it this way, level 5, or you do the super active. It's like the highest one.
Sure,
literally, right. It is the CBD Medic, this guy's cream, that I've been using for 3 years for soreness without knowing Gronk, without knowing Perry. I have been telling people, check this article on our site. It's the best stuff I've ever used because it had menthol. And you said camphor.
Menthol and
camphor. Literally, when it gets with the CBD, I'm not a scientist, as our guests like to say, it works. I get paid nothing for this, but I've been known about these guys and told people for 3 years before Gronk. So,
and Perry, and in Jamaica, you told me the real reason why Rob Gronkowski is not coming back to the Patriots this year. You want to explain that one again, or?
Well, first of all, he is in a great place.
Yeah.
Okay, and he is a great businessman, and I'm learning things from him. He's sharp. He's smart. He really has his act together, and he is moving at the lightest speed. Really,
speed of light.
Sorry, speed of light.
That's okay. I got you. I knew what you were doing. I got you.
He's moving at the speed of light, and so he's in a great place. We all know. We all heard it. The press conference. We know that he started to lose his love for football, and he said, "Okay, time for me to take a break." Now, whether he comes back or not, of course, nobody knows. It's totally up to him. But I can tell you one thing, is he wants to keep his options open.
Right.
And he is now endorsing, right? He's actually advocating for CBD.
Right.
He's endorsing a CBD company, CBD Medic.
Yeah.
And the rules in, the NFL, which are,
archaic.
rules from, okay, they are right from before, the end of the era, right, of cannabis legalization. And according to the rules, the way that they are now, he is banned from coming back because he is sponsoring, he is a spokesperson for, and he's advocating for CBD.
That's right. And is a hero amongst his peers because the players don't want to be on opioids and other things that are harmful to them. They'd like to use as many natural products as possible to get themselves ready week in and week out for what is basically human warfare on a football field. Still the nicest, greatest, biggest sport in America. I believe that they still have the most watched television programs every year are always NFL football games. I believe it's something like 83 out of 100 of the top-rated television shows are all NFL football games.
Wow.
That tells you nobody's making appointments to view anything anymore, and that's why we do this. And then you can we put it on demand, and we cut it up, and then we spread it out so everybody can watch it whenever the hell they want, or listen to it and not have to look at us. But that's another story. What are you doing with the craft group? Because I know that came out too. I'm guessing you have a little bit of an inside there, just because Mr. Gronkowski knows Mr. Kraft pretty well.
Well, after the announcement of our partnership, they approached us. Kraft Sports approached us. They said, you have just signed and you have partnered with what we consider one of the most iconic players in football, as well as in the Patriots. You're dealing with a historic tight end. We want to partner with you because you've partnered with Gronk. And we love what you're doing. They said we like what you're advocating, as well as the press conference that we had from Gillette Stadium. We had Murray there, right, who introduced us, and it was about supporting the advocacy for CBD, which is fantastic. And look, it's not a matter of if, right? It's a matter of when.
Right.
But this Gillette and Kraft partnership is really important. For one, it's another piece of the puzzle. We love the fact, I don't know if you know this, but on the side of the stadium, where there's now a 30-foot, I think 35-foot by 25-foot large poster with Gronk, with a football in his hands and with CBD Medic right there. There's also the iconic water tower that looks the Gillette Stadium and Patriots Place. And we will have soon the CBD Medic with our hemp/cannabis leaf on the water tower. So that is quite a move of support for CBD advocacy.
Yeah, pinch me, I'm dreaming. It's Massachusetts, and they're the 6-time Super Bowl champs. I don't know which is more bizarre, the fact that the Patriots, I lived to see them win 6 Super Bowl championships, or the fact that cannabis is now legal in our home state. Am I dreaming?
Where can people get it? What does a Massachusetts resident need to do to get, whether it's in a physical location or your website? What can they do?
Actually, so there are several physical locations. If they go to our website, which is cbdmedic.com, there is a store finder there. Bed Bath & Beyond carries it throughout the state, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to get in their car and go pick it up, they can buy it online. Just as easy. Now, if you go to the Patriots game, you go to Pat's game, we have 2 activation sites there where we are handing out free samples, and we can hand out up to 60,000, samples to all the fans coming to the game.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
But Jimmy brought it up. You're in CVS's outside New England. Why not New England? What's the holdup, or what was there a decision by the FDA, or when's that coming?
No, it is not FDA related. Look, CVS, they're the first adopters of a retail pharmacy chain that brought it into the United States, on any large scale. And I think actually they're really smart about they went about it. Because the strategy, if you actually look at what stores and what states they put it in, they did somewhat of a cross-section. They said, look, here is a product that is in high demand by the public. There are regulatory hurdles in the different states. There's also still a stigma connected to it. Let's roll it out slowly. Let's do like a stage 1 test kind of a rollout. And let's put it in not all liberal states. Let's not put it all in all conservative states. Let's take a slice of red and blue states. And also some of those states, some of those have medicinal cannabis. Some of them are recreational cannabis. They're in Colorado, but they also chose Kentucky. They chose California. They also chose Maryland. And they're like, let's do a cross-section, and let's see how it sells in our stores. And we can learn a lot. And that is what they're doing. They learned a lot. They're learning a lot from it. They launched that around April. And now they're taking their second stage and saying, okay, we see how this is sold. We see how the sell-through rates. Now let's add additional states. So that is why it's not in all states. It's not in Massachusetts yet. It will be. Just give it time.
What this next rollout? Are we talking you're going to be in 5 more? Are we going to be in 30? you have any idea, or they've told you?
As many as possible?
As far as states are concerned?
Yeah, like.
We actually can't talk too much
Okay, I was going to say maybe you can't for earnings.
I'm so
and
glad
too.
Curt asked you that because I knew the answer, and I'm like, oh, you
Jimmy,
can
they're
ask
publicly
him.
traded. We can't talk about what's going to happen.
That's right. How difficult is it? Is it difficult for you to bite your tongue and not tell the whole story?
I hate it. No question.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Usually you get a product in, you get a technology in the major retail pharmacy chains, in Food, Drug, and Mass. You can talk about it, press releases.
You tell
all
the world.
time.
You want everybody to know, right?
It's not the same with CBD. And but again, look, the end of an era of prohibition. But let's look back into the 1930s, right? And it's, I'm sure it's never been easy. It's not smooth sailing. There's choppy waters ahead of us. Again, there's regulatory uncertainty. So especially retail pharmacy chains, which are generally conservative, right? They're taking their time and they're making sure everything is, copacetic, and it's all going to be working out okay. They want to make sure that it's, let it out easy.
And yet I hear Rob, he's trained so well. First words out of his mouth, it won't get you high. It just gets rid of your pain. He makes it very clear, very direct. And, obviously we're a pro-cannabis media network. I know that. But the public is you're still fighting a stigma, Perry, aren't you?
There's no question. In fact, at the Gillette press conference, we appealed to the media. We said, help us out. It is really
How'd that work out, by the way?
Really well.
Okay, good.
Really well.
They like you, by the way.
was okay with
the media. The media is good. The media likes you, too.
It worked out really well. They got it, and you read all the stories, and they really made a point of it. Think about it, because if you start calling us a pot company, a marijuana company, which one of the newspapers did do, and then they corrected it, by the way, afterwards. You're doing
hang on a second. There's only one newspaper in Boston. You said newspapers.
I'm not going to say who that is.
Okay, all right,
you
fair
can
enough.
find it on your own.
Just saying that. Right. Fill in the blanks.
Yeah, but they corrected it without us having to ask them to.
Good.
Yeah. That was great. It's if somebody is afraid of it because they think that CBD is marijuana, if they think that CBD has THC in it, and they're scared of that, they're not going to be using this product. And this product could help them.
Right.
So we said you will be hurting the public. You'll be hurting the consumer if you continue to mislabel who we are and what we do. And education is a key part of this. We have got to get the word out. CBD is not THC. It is non-psychoactive. THC is psychoactive. There's a difference between the industrial hemp plant and the marijuana plant.
Yes, there is. And let me, I'm not going to correct you, but I'm going to enlighten you when I said that exact same word, psychoactive, to Mr. Hemp, John Dvorak, around in Massachusetts. And he corrected me. He says, it is psychoactive, it just doesn't get you intoxicated. And that is a difference.
I got to be honest, that is correct.
And do you know John?
It is. Yeah, I don't, but it is. He is correct. It is non-intoxicating. This is true.
Yeah.
But it is non-psychoactive. It comes down to actually the amount. Right?
Yep.
Because everything can be toxic, right? If you drink too much water, you will die.
Right.
So water can be actually intoxicating at certain levels. Anything, right? Too much of anything can hurt you.
Right.
So it has to be taken within reason.
Right.
At the levels, first of all, on a topical product, okay, that doesn't even go into your bloodstream, that just helps you with pain relief. It's non-psychoactive, okay?
I gotcha.
Now,
Even
of course,
Rob rubbing it all over himself.
I know, I've got a bad visual.
Rob's rubbed it all over
I got an awful visual.
Not getting high.
What's going on? Whoa, she wiped out the microphone.
Poor Rob. He's not poor.
I don't think he's poor.
No.
And you, of course, cannot tell us any of the intricacies of the agreement that you have with Mr. Gronkowski. You can't enlighten us at all as far as, because you're a public company, I'm guessing, too. How much you paying him, Perry?
Actually, so first of all, he's a partner in our business now.
I knew that.
Okay.
I knew that even before you told me.
And whatever is public is online. You could look it up.
There you go.
And that's all you get.
And another reason, and that's all you get. And that's another reason why you probably won't see him in a Patriots uniform this year. But who knows about next year? And keep in mind that is also a collective bargaining year in the National Football League. And I am on record of saying if these players don't do a work stoppage, even for a day, they deserve full-time, lifetime health benefits for entertaining me and my fellow football fans my whole life. The fact that they don't have lifetime health benefits freaks me out. And, of course, you want to get into the guaranteed and non-guaranteed contract thing. This bothers me as a fan. It bothers me as a human. I know it's a business. The NFL's a big business. They make a ton of money. I even think they could probably get volunteer doctors to give lifetime health care to some of these players because they worship them. They love them. They love the football players. But I go off because that's what I do. Perry, what's next for your company? What, are you at another conference? I mean, I didn't even know about the Cowan thing until I read it today. And I said, oh, we missed that one, you know. What's next for you guys?
Okay, so we're very fortunate. We had hoped, we planned, we strategized to be, the first topical, CBD infused company in the United States. Mm-hmm. We're very fortunate to have that positioning. We do have 13 SKUs in 4 different locations in CVS. We have 14 SKUs in Bed Bath & Beyond. We are currently in north of 4,500 stores. And what's indicative of those stores is those are, as I said, all just initial rollouts. So they are actually indicative of about 25,000 retail pharmacy chains. That is more than about a third of the retail pharmacy chains in the United States. That is one of our channels. Our goal, just to be clear, is to be able to have our formulation, CBD Medic, used by hundreds of millions of people around the world to help them with suffering. The way to do that is accessibility, availability, getting distributed at as many locations as possible. So we are in the retail pharmacy chain now, in the food, drug, and mass. We'll continue to distribute in that and add more stores quarter to quarter, as well as we are in the healthcare practitioner space as well. We are also going into the convenience store space, and there's about 150,000 convenience stores throughout the United States. Those are your gas stations, your 7-Elevens, your Wawas, etc. Yeah. And as well, we also have our online, our web store, and then we are launching our Gronk line.
Oh, is that newsworthy? Did we just break something? What's the Gronk line going to look like?
Oh, the Gronk line is going to be all about Gronk. It's about his lifestyle, about who he is, what he loves, what he believes in. It's about his natural style,
right.
His lifestyle. So it's going to. So we have the Gronk line as well, and then we also have online. We're also going on Amazon to offer our products. So we're hitting it in all the cylinders to make sure it is readily available. We're even going into some international countries as well for approval, regulatory approval.
And of course, Israel very close to both of our hearts. There's definitely some action.
It's close to my heart too.
Okay, that's good. I appreciate that. Well, were you bar mitzvahed, Curt?
No,
let's cut to the chase. Were you bar mitzvahed,
I was
Curt?
not, but it doesn't mean it's not close to my heart. I feel a little left out at this point. Secret handshake here.
Really?
I have something else. I'm editing myself right now. I just want you to know I am not going to say what's going through my mind. That being said, I do want to get back to a serious subject, which is what's going on in Israel right now. You have some property and a business in Israel? Do I remember you telling me that?
We do have a branch in Israel. We actually have 35 employees, part of Abacus Health Products out in Israel. And they do digital marketing. We also are out in Israel because Israel, and maybe people don't know this, is the leader of research and development in cannabis in the world.
Right.
Dr. Professor Meshulam, 1957, which holds credit for identifying the Delta 9 THC, molecule and structure, also has spent most of his life with cannabinoids and testing cannabinoids with different receptors. So they are not 5 years, not 10 years, but over 60 years in research on cannabis. And so we work with institutions there. We work with Technion. We work with Bar Ilan University. We work with Hebrew University. And they are the leaders. So we love to keep our hands on the pulse of the newest technology coming out there because we want to be able to offer that to the consumers.
Right. Are you concerned what the FDA may do with CBD? I mean, it probably is going to affect the lotions and stuff, right? The topicals. But are you concerned about what they may do as far as a limitation or regulation at all?
Well, and you might not like this answer, Jimmy.
That's okay.
But
I'll move over. Jimmy gets mad.
He knows me. I guess he's starting to get to know me.
Mad
He
grandpa,
knows I'm
look out, mad
He knows
grandpa.
how sensitive I am. I'm a sensitive guy.
We were in Jamaica together.
Yes,
Jimmy.
we were. And by the way, just for the record, wait a second.
Oh no.
He was this high strung down there too.
No.
Hey, who?
I have the lighter. Perry bought me a lighter. Let's
right.
just say it because I didn't have the right change or whatever. Anyway, thank you. So yes, I can.
Look, the FDA, they care about consumer safety, and it is really important to guard that, because if you don't, you can have bad things happen. Honestly, and it's no different in the cannabis space, and has been no different in the CBD space. We know it's called the green rush. And there are over 2,000 companies that have entered the CBD market in the last 18 months. That's a phenomenal number. And a lot of them are saying, well, I'll just buy it from anywhere. Maybe I'll buy it from a foreign country. Maybe I'll buy it from China. Maybe I'll buy it from this place. Okay. And they might have heavy metals. Okay, trace metals, heavy metals in their oils. And they're not even testing it. They're just putting it in a bottle and they're selling it online. And someone can get hurt.
Right.
So, a certain amount of regulation is important because it's going to keep the consumer safe. So the question is, and it is an important question as far as what we think this FDA is going to do next. And I spent a lot of time with CEOs of other companies as well as lobbyists around the country. And one of a couple things are going to happen. Nobody really knows when. It's not probably a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. We don't know if it's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. But they're
3 years is what I've heard is within 3 years. And I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah,
okay, but within. So
okay,
we don't
within.
know.
Right. It could be a week, right.
Well, not a week.
Yeah, I know that.
But look, the World Health Organization has come out with a statement that 600 milligrams of CBD a day is safe. That's the safe limit. That's a lot. Number one. We're expecting that the FDA, when they feel confident that they know of a maximum safe level, they will say to the public, we're confident with X amount of milligrams per day. Let's just take a number, 200 milligrams a day. And they're probably going to say, okay, that's the number. We're going to use that as a placeholder. We might change it. We might allow it to go higher. We might need to bring it down in the future based on clinical trials that are coming in. And that's most likely what we'll see. And that's when you're going to see the Ben & Jerry's that have announced, have you seen that?
Yes, of course I have.
The Ben & Jerry's CBD, the Coca-Cola, and all the beers, and everyone's going to go wild. Oh, we can have it in food up to 200 milligrams a day. Yeah. That's the type of thing you're going to see. As far as, as a topical product, we actually follow. There's a guideline as far as how to have a topical product infuse what is called inactive ingredients. I'm sure you've bought products off the shelf of a CVS or Walgreens, and it says enriched with, vitamin E oil.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. These are infused. They are enriched with CBD oil. So there is a pathway. Topicals probably won't be in the messaging, my guess, with the FDA. It's really about consumer safety. There is really no safety risk with a topical. If there would be any, it's extremely low. Right. We have no adverse reported effects at all.
That's great.
Yeah, and we're over 5 years with our topical products. None.
Fantastic.
So it's going to be when the FDA comes out and what that number is going to be.
Hey, Perry Antelman, thank you so much for making the appearance in studio.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate
for having
it.
me, Jimmy.
Great to see you again. We're going to have another half hour. We got some really good interviews coming up, so don't go away. More of We Talk Live with Curt and Jimmy coming up.
The biggest and newest venture that I have is I'm launching a study of professional women's experience in the cannabis industry. And I'm sponsoring an event in December, the National Women of Cannabis Conference. And that's going to happen on December 10th, the day before MLBIZ Con starts.
In Las Vegas?
Yes.
And am I on the media list?
I don't know, but we need to get you on the media list.
I still haven't booked my flight yet, but I will be.
Yep, be there for the 10th.
Yes, I will.
So we are launching this study there, and I'm partnering with Wolf Research and Consulting. She is a medical sociologist, a PhD from academia, and so this study is going to be academically rigorous. at the moment, we're beyond 75 questions. But what we're going to be doing is asking women to tell us their experiences of working in the cannabis industry. So, and we're going to be putting out content every month for a year. So each month there's going to be a new theme, and we're going to put out infographics. So, for example, who are the women of cannabis? Demographics, psychographics, and personality archetypes, which will be very interesting. We're going to look at whether cannabis use is a prerequisite for working in the industry and whether there's any shame around that use still. We're going to look at how women got into the industry, why they got into the industry, what kind of barriers they face, and if those barriers are different for men. We're going to look at leadership opportunities, educational opportunities, balance and self-care, their experiences in working with men, discrimination and harassment, their experiences in working with
They're not always discriminated and harassed by men, right? Okay.
That's what the numbers are going to tell us. That's the point of the survey.
We know it exists.
We need to have hard numbers so that we can address it. Because if we're just guessing, then how can we put policies in place to figure out how to make this a better industry for everyone?
Okay, welcome back. We're in the home stretch of Weed Talk with Curt and Jimmy. I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media.
And I'm Curt Dalton with Cannabis.net.
And we have a couple of interviews lined up for the next 30 minutes. And we are also very happy to welcome in our new supporters. They are Legal Seafood. You know, I didn't say this to Perry or to Will, but they're going to get gift cards for coming in.
I ate dinner there tonight in Quincy.
They're great. The Weedjits. We've been demonstrating the Weedjit. And, of course, Caroline's Cannabis. And I've got my T-shirt. Uh-oh.
It fell.
It fell. I'll come back and I'll get that T-shirt. I know. Where'd it go? Oh, it's behind me. And I hope they saw that I did this. I wore their T-shirt during News Dabs. I just really like her story. There we go. Be kind. How can you go wrong with it saying with a drop line like that? Mm-hmm. Who's gonna mess with you?
And why will mass people know Uxbridge? Isn't it out the last town, exit 1?
It's the next. No, it's then right next to the little town of Mendon. It's right outside of Worcester.
But isn't it? It's not exit 1?
No.
Oh, Sturbridge. I'm thinking of. My bad. I'm thinking of Sturbridge. Sorry, Carolines.
It rhymes. Sturbridge and Uxbridge rhymes. I get it, but that's about all it does.
Oh wait, we can't. Never mind.
All right. And are we waiting to connect? We are connected. All right. Terrific. On the line with us on a unsponsored line. I just want to say we'll be happy to put a logo or even give a few plugs if somebody's interested in sponsoring our phone line. Yes, I'm doing the ask now, Curt. You notice that?
Yep. All right.
All right. The Women of Cannabis Conference is coming to Las Vegas on December 10th. It's a 9 to 5 conference at Mansion 54 in Las Vegas. And to let you know a little bit about the Women of Cannabis Conference, it's a female-driven organization designed to provide events that engage and empower women in the marijuana and hemp industry. And Stacy Thompson is the founder, and Annie Epley is the director of operations. And do we have both of them on the phone with us?
No, actually, we've got Annie. Stacy actually had to do some last-minute traveling. But hello, everyone. How are you?
Good, Annie.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a bit about what we can expect on that Tuesday event before MLBIZ Con gets going.
So wonderful, gentlemen. What you can expect is a room full of hungry, eager entrepreneurs that are looking to start in different stages, their life in cannabis, are looking to move forward. So you'll see a lot of networking, a lot of investment opportunities there, some aerial artists. Of course, Mansion 54 is a beautiful venue. So we'll have tons of media there and just a lot of empowerment and encouraging stories from women who have been there.
Is it because of the opportunity? Why are we seeing so many women make an impact in this industry right now?
I think the best way that I can explain it, and this is off the record, and I'm going to put on just my Annie Epley hat.
We're off the record. Hold on, we're off the record.
You're not off the record here, Annie. I just want to make that very clear. Okay.
I think that it's a planet thing. I think that naturally this plant is female. It reproduces. It is a nurturer. It is a mother. I think that it brings out something in women that we've kind of been hungry for a very long time: leadership, identity, things of that nature. So, my story with cannabis is long, and some people's stories, they're just coming out of this, what Stacy calls the cannabis closet. And, we want to help them. We want to guide them.
I think that's great. And now Curt Dalton, who's my co-host here on this show, has been to MLBIZ Con a number of times, so he's a veteran for this. And this conference is the day before. Have you been to MLBIZ Con before?
Yes, actually, we are an affiliate of MLBIZ Con this year. So this is our second year doing the conference. And the first year we kind of snuck in and was like, okay, let's see if we can get people to travel a day, earlier from MLBIZ. And we did. And so when we decided to do the conference again, we reached out to Chris Day of MLBIZ Con, and they have been just so amazing. And so we are affiliates, and they are supporting us, and you'll be able to find us at their women's event and all throughout MLBIZ Con as well.
Good fun.
What would you tell someone if a woman, say, from the Northeast wants to come out, get involved in the industry, and come out a day early? Is there opportunities for people from other states? I know this is taking place in Las Vegas. Or what would you tell someone that's listening or watching from Michigan, from Florida, a woman that would like to come to your conference?
Massachusetts.
Or Massachusetts. I'm spreading around.
That is a wonderful question, Jimmy and Curt. Thank you, gentlemen, so much, for asking. We are developing a membership type thing where we'll have regionals. So we actually did go to Michigan in May of last year, May of this year, I apologize, and tried a regional. So we could, because we're in Texas. And so we went, because Michigan is Stacy's home state. So we did go to Michigan, and we had the event at the Rooster Tail, and it was sold out, and it was beautiful and amazing. And so kind of this birth of an idea of having regional all around the United States and beyond simultaneously in May. So hopefully this year we will be in about 6 different states. And so I would tell the ladies that are listening, ladies, we are looking for leaders. We're looking for leaders in the state that have, desire for the plant and the passion and purpose to kind of move this forward. And, come meet us out in Vegas, and let's get you signed up. Let's meet. If you're looking for a tribe, this is the place to do it. Stacy founded the conference because she was finding herself alone at a lot of these very large, like MLBIZ Con. It's so large. How do you develop relationships in such a large space? So, creating those relationships the day before and saying, oh my gosh, girl, I'll meet you, let's go meet at the water fountain. So it's a wonderful, wonderful way for women to, again, find their cannabis tribe.
All right, and a great place to go. And you have quite a history with this plant. I understand you were a trimmer on your grandfather's farm in Humboldt, California. I just read that, and I find that fascinating. Humboldt, California is a wild place, huh?
Yes, it is. I guess that, the documentary Murder Mountain, they call it, but it really isn't that scary. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And it wasn't on my grandfather's farm. It is on a grandfather farm. So a private, non-disclosed farm, the 5th generation. Right. So they just had a son in the new generation. So it's going to be a 6th generation farm. So it's just very exciting. That's where I started. And I was dropped off on the top of a mountain in 2006 because I just needed to learn. I had severe panic and stress disorder diagnosed by a couple of neurologists. So I needed to find a way out of pharmaceuticals because it enabled me to be human. Dropped me off at the top of the farm. I didn't know these people from Adam, and I went in, and, now I staff the farm with folks here from Texas and send them down so they can learn, legally and out of fear. And it's phenomenal. Building ways for people to find their purpose and their passion if it is with the plant.
And how can women find you? How can they contact you? What's the best way to get in touch with you or join or ask you questions?
Yes, so you can go to WOFCannabis.com. woscanna.com. That's WOSCANNA.com, and reach out us on there, or you can catch Stacy and I. And then Parissa, I'd like to definitely throw that in. We just added Parissa Rad as our third partner this conference. So we're super excited about that. Some big things have happened, and huge things. So reach out to us on Facebook, any social media platform, and we're so eager to answer your questions and get you in Vegas.
Well, I promise you I'll be there.
Wonderful.
You're going to have Jimmy at your show.
I'll be there, and I'll be
treat him well.
I'm looking forward to it, Annie. Thank you so much for taking some time to tell us a little bit more about your conference, and we'll see you in Vegas.
Absolutely. We will see you guys in Vegas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep, that was Annie Epley, the Director of Operations for the Women in
Very
Cannabis.
nice. Great movement.
And, we didn't get into it, but she's quite the activist in Texas and was instrumental in getting Pete Sessions unelected.
Wow, great.
Yeah, so, the people in this business, Curt, and you have been in it longer than I have, the passion is the equalizer. Everybody is passionate about it. If you're in this business, you believe in it, you're waving the flag, and some of the most interesting people I've ever met have been in this cannabis space, and I'm fascinated by it.
And I've always said that the industry is still in its infancy, where you'll meet 1,000 cannabis people, and 999 of them that I've met are really cool, really nice people. They love the plant. They want it to be legalized. It's not cutthroat. It's not this investment or some sort of pro athletes fighting for a spot. There's just a lot of love for the plant, like she mentioned, and people want to see it.
Now, earlier in this program, some who cut away for videos in the breaks and stuff, I had that piece of the interview I had with the first man, the Rastafarian that I talked to, and how he articulated the role that the plant plays in their culture was, again, fascinating to me. I use that word all the time because it exactly describes how I felt about it. But I never understood the soulfulness of it. I never understood the spirituality of the plant. I never understood, why people are so passionate about growing it, making it a part of their lives. So it was fun to talk to that guy.
Yeah, again, head out to Vegas. It's a day before MLBIZ Con. Jimmy's actually going to go cover it, but if you're interested, she gave you all the info.
I wonder if there's going to be a Rasta speaker at the Women in Cannabis conference out in Vegas.
I would say no, but let's...
will they have a booth at MLBIZ Con?
No, you will not see a Rasta there.
No. Who should I look for? One of the things I wanted to talk to, I didn't even ask Perry if he's going. Are we good? Do we have the next call?
Yes, we do.
Oh, my God, we do. So we can go right into the next call? All right. But what I was going to say about Perry is, will you be in Las Vegas? I'm going to go out on a limb thinking he will be.
Probably, yeah.
And will he have his little toy with him, Rob Gronkowski? I'm just saying. They're kind of inseparable.
I don't know. Rob in Vegas. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
I think that's a reality show happening.
Yes.
All right. Let's get on the phone with our last guest tonight on We Talk Live. It's Eric Kaufman. He is the Chief Revenue Officer for DAMA Financial. Is it DAMA or DAMA Financial, Eric?
Neither. DAMA.
DAMA.
DAMA
Okay.
Financial.
Thank you very much. That was my third choice.
To preempt your question, I will be in Vegas.
Awesome.
All right, good. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about DAMA Financial and how it works and why I see DAMA Financial in all these periodical magazines, and I see them marketing their product everywhere. Tell me a little bit about and why they are so cannabis friendly.
Great. Well, thank you for the perfect tee-up opening question. So let me give you the 30,000-foot overview of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. So DAMA Financial is the first, and to my knowledge, to date, the only truly transparent, compliant banking solution for the cannabis industry. Just by way of background, we are not cannabis people. We're banking and payments industry veterans, which is what I think you want when you're dealing with this side of the business. Our two co-founders had taken two companies public in that space, each for over $1 billion. But the important thing to note there is both of those companies, one of the fundamental value propositions was moving a cash-based economy to a bank and digital economy. And really, that's all we're doing here. So it's the third iteration of something we've done before. And what we do at DAMA is we find state-chartered, FDIC-insured banks that make both a risk-based and a board-level decision that they want to bank cannabis. But with that, understand that they don't necessarily have the wherewithal to do it on their own. And what it is really compliance. So they partner with DAMA Financial, and we run the cannabis program on behalf of that bank. So we do all the application processing, all the onboarding, all the operations, customer servicing. And in exchange, what that means for the customer, the end user, and whether that's a cultivator, distributor, manufacturer, retailer, delivery network, they end up with an FDIC-insured bank account in their name at a bank that knows they're banking cannabis.
That's
and
fair.
along with
Go ahead. Keep going. You're doing great.
No, thank you.
You know your business well.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much. And along with that, what we're able to do is provide a whole suite of products and services to enable the cannabis industry to operate just as if it were a non-cannabis industry. At the outset, what we started to do was solve for the most pressing matter, which was a bank account. We've done that, right? And now we're commoditizing that. And what we've been able to do is bolt on all of these other products and services to enable or really build the critical financial architecture for the industry. And that includes your traditional bank account, interest-bearing account, escrow account. We have bill pay by check, ACH, or wire, can accept funds those same three ways, Armor Card, cash pickup and processing. We launched a proprietary merchant processing and digital consumer wallet called PayTender. Think of it as the Venmo meets the Starbucks app. Yeah. It's a game changer for retail, whether that's in-store, online for e-commerce, or home delivery. There was an announcement that we partner with BioTrack to roll out across their entire POS network. We also made an announcement we're powering the back end of Americanics, which is a cannabis commodities trading platform. And we're able to power that by providing trading accounts and escrow accounts. So as you could see, kind of rounding out all the services needed to enable the industry to operate a lot more efficiently than obviously it has in the past.
Hey, Eric, this is Curt with Cannabis.net. The common statement that is prolific on LinkedIn and elsewhere is, quote, anyone that tells you they can get you a cannabis merchant account or bank account legitimately in the United States is lying. They have to go through all these shell companies in Europe and call it something else. Are you telling me that is not true now?
I'm telling you that is not true. This is all we do all day long. All we do is bank cannabis as a partner of our sponsor banks. And we run that program on behalf of a number of banks. If you are a licensed operator, you can go through our application process. I will tell you it's not easy. It's a stringent process. But if you make it through, you end up with a truly transparent and compliant bank, and you get all those other services that come along with it.
Is the cannabis industry, a dispensary, for example, considered a high-risk merchant?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even though the chargeback rate would be almost nil, it's just because it's cannabis and federal law?
Well, it's also, look, if you look at it, the issue becomes money laundering and other issues that are prevalent in high or cash-intensive industries. Even the alcohol industry. If you look at the alcohol industry, roughly 30% of that industry still operates in cash. Now, that's not Coors, InBev, or Diageo, but if you think of all of the local liquor stores and bars. So the alcohol industry is a high-risk industry, which is why only 4 major banks on any scale touch it, right? Many banks touch it, but only 4 of the major banks touch it on any scale because of compliance. So if you think about the compliance around alcohol, you can imagine the compliance around cannabis is significantly greater. And that's a heavy lift for a bank.
I want to ask you about the U.S. House of Representatives passing the Safe Banking Act and throwing it over to the Senate next. And needless to say, they've got their hands full with other things down in Washington, D.C. these days. But what if that Safe Banking Act passes, what effect might it have on DAMA?
Well, first, just so we're clear, we believe all legal cannabis businesses should have access to traditional banking. A strong proponent of legislation. I think the issue with the SAFE Act, and by the way, it was a no-brainer it was going to pass the House, right? It was dominant, 321 to 103, I believe it was. Yep. And nearly all the Democrats backed it, as did a number of Republicans, I think over 90. So now it goes to the Senate. Will it pass there is anyone's guess, but eventually something will pass sooner than later. What we want to pass is the right act. The way it's currently written is not so great. It has a lot of vulnerabilities. It's vague. It leaves room for interpretation. It can allow for a number of bad actors to penetrate the banking system. And it only takes one bad one to bring the whole thing down, and that's not what we want. So here, uncertainty is not a benefit. We need something with teeth. We need really clear rules and regulations, and it has to be black and white. So we actually spend a lot of time trying to help shape that, and we would like something to pass. Just needs to be the right thing. And, as I alluded to before, if and when something does pass, that's a great thing. As I mentioned, only 4 major banks bank alcohol on any scale. So once this passes, I think you will find more banks interested in getting involved in the cannabis industry. And for us, that just means more opportunities to partner with those banks and help run that compliance program and the cannabis program on their behalf.
If a neophyte consumer came to you, Eric, and said, I want to use my PayPal or Venmo account to buy cannabis, what would you say to them? Is that group a friend or a foe to your financial plan?
Well, they wouldn't be able to use it through us, and eventually their account would get shut down. You see a lot of dispensaries using workaround solutions, for electronic payment or merchant processing, and it works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's incredibly disruptive to their business. We know that as a retailer, if you're not taking some form of electronic payment, your sales dip by roughly 30%. So to have that interruption to your business is really obviously not a good thing. So what you want to do is find a solution that's sustainable, which we have with PayTender. That's our own plug right there. So thank you very much.
No problem.
That's what we're here for. We appreciate that. We also want people in the cannabis industry to tell their stories, so we give that opportunity. But I'd be remiss, Eric, if I didn't bring up the fact that you had a lengthy career as a sports agent. Is that true?
This is true, and also a lengthy career, or shall I say, experience working with New England Patriots.
So that's interesting. Anyone in particular we might know?
Yeah, sure. I worked with Willie McGinnis, Adam Vinatieri, Troy Brown, Brandon Spikes, Chad Eaton, Mike Jones, Steve Israel, your kicker today, Nick Folk.
Yeah.
And I worked with Pete Carroll. So long history with the New England Patriots.
That's why I recognized your name, by the way.
How did you, you talk about getting over to cannabis.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's good. It's good.
You talk about moving over to cannabis and how your co-founders were not cannabis guys, they were banking guys. How did this group get to the let's do cannabis from already having $2 billion startups? When did the light bulb go off, or what happened in your lives where we can solve this cannabis problem?
Well, like I said, the 2 prior companies were payments and banking related companies, and both of those companies, they were moving cash-based economies to banked and digital economies. And when they looked at cannabis, they said, hey, here's another opportunity to do it again. Sure, every industry has its own particulars, but fundamentally it was same value proposition that they had executed on twice before. So it just made organic sense to make the move.
And did you have any reservations, or your family or wife, when you said, hey, honey, I'm going to go into the cannabis banking space? Any neighbors, any brother-in-laws give you a funny look?
Fair question, but no. I'm in California.
Oh, there you go.
I could have told you that too. So I got to ask, since Curt took that, I'm going back to the sports agent thing, Eric, because now you got me thinking. So the first question, of course, is you were a sports agent. Why did you stop doing that?
I did it for roughly 20 years, so it was time for a change and a new challenge.
Did you know Kristen Kaliga at all?
Sure. Worked with her many years ago, because I believe it was Willie McGinnis that we worked together on, probably in the, late 90s, early 2000s.
I'm sure you've heard the legend of Bob Wolf, right? I mean, you have to. Right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Of course.
He was bar mitzvahed with my uncle. I don't know why I know that. That's just I do. And I just thought,
mazel tov.
Thank you very much. Eric Kaufman, is there anything else about DAMA Financial that you think makes it the place you should go if you're in the cannabis business? That's where you should put your money? One last sales call.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are a truly compliant and transparent banking solution. If you want to operate your business efficiently and have something that's sustainable and be able to grow your business, whether it's through merchant processing or lending, and just be able to operate your business, essentially as if it were a non-cannabis related business, we are the solution.
Terrific.
It's as simple as that.
That's it. That's a great thing. Eric, Eric Kaufman from DAMA Financial, the Chief Revenue Officer. They're in good hands, I can tell, because you're a sharp dude. And I just can't believe you're out in California now, but that's okay. It's okay. We understand. Somebody has to live there, right? And,
our winters are rough, but I'm enduring it.
Yeah, I bet. I think I woke up, it was 13 degrees this morning when I looked at the thermostat. Anyway, Eric Kaufman, thank you so much again from DAMA Financial, and tell Stephanie thank you too as well.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right,
thanks, guys.
You bet. Well, jeepers creepers, here we are. We're gonna wrap this thing up in about a minute and a half. Curt, that was pretty fast.
That was a myth buster. I got to get online and bust a myth now.
What's the myth?
The myth is you cannot get a merchant account in the United States with a bank that's FDIC insured. It is illegal. No one can do it. That is no longer true.
And that's one of the reasons what intrigued me about DAMA Financial when I learned about it and said, who is this group and why aren't they advertising with us?
Like you said, workarounds. Everybody's doing these little kind of workarounds.
They should be the ones that sponsor the calls.
The hot call, the fast call.
DAMA Financial.
The money line.
The money line.
Money line.
Let's go to the money line and DAMA Financial.
We can do sports betting too after this.
Sure. Why not? Anyway, we are on our way to Vegas. One last thank you to Legal Seafood and to Caroline's Cannabis in Uxbridge, and, of course, to the Weedjit. That's right. You could go on to weedjits.com and get yourself one of these really cool filter cooling devices system, right?
Yep, it's a nice system,
and good
it cools,
colors.
It filters,
good colors. Check out the colors. I got that because I'm a kind of a Jamaica guy, those kind of Jamaican colors. Any last thoughts, Curt?
We'll see you guys in Vegas. If you're thinking of going, as I said, if this is the one show that you have to get on the plane for, and people from around the world will be there, it's a good time, and you're in Vegas too. So. Hope to see you there.
Right. Have to thank Dan French for holding it all together and Mike Zotos for pushing all those right buttons and all that. So for Curt Dalton, I'm Jimmy Young. And remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. And I'm going to tell you this. Stay tuned because the next couple of minutes, you're going to meet a guy by the name of Weed Boggs. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of In the Weeds on the Road with Jimmy Young. And today we are at the 3rd annual Harvest Cup here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And who do I run into but the one and only Weed Boggs. Hello, Weed Boggs.
Weed Boggs here.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you were there when I lost my dabbing virginity at the Freedom Rally back in September 2018, weren't you?
I believe so.
Yes, you were there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And tell me about what Weed Boggs does, because I love your shtick on Instagram. Tell us, who is Weed Boggs and what do you do?
I help spread cheer to all the land.
By doing what?
I help people with edibles. I help medicate the masses. I help them look at beautiful glass and clouds and stuff like that.
Don't you have a following of doing bong hits all over the United States, or at least close by?
Yeah, that's my right, to medicate as a medical patient, to medicate where I choose to, how I choose to.
That's right. And what are some of the stranger places or places that we might recognize where we might see you doing bong rips, as you say?
State House Steps, Fenway, Golden Gate Bridge, Miami Beach.
Outside the DCU Center?
Outside the DCU Center, yeah. Train tracks, yeah, I almost got hit by a train a couple weeks ago.
That's not, you don't want to
I just did a bong rip on a police car out there a couple minutes ago.
They didn't see you, did they?
Nah.
But they might now.
Maybe.
It's a whole new world of weed, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Hey, why don't you tell the people out there how much you love Pro Cannabis Media by looking at my camera and just giving us a little plug. Go ahead.
I fucking love Pro Cannabis Media.
And I love Weed Boggs. Another edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young in the books. We'll have more. Don't go away. Shell's on camera here. You can't do that inside, right?
What?
You can't do that inside.
This is my microphone.
Okay, fair enough.
We are Pro Cannabis Media. Why? Because we are Pro Cannabis Cannabis Media.